Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan. And I know I probably sound pretty fired up, even though the Eagles are 0-2, and Adam and I have a lot of carnage that we've got to sift through, and that's what we do on Wednesday mornings, right? I mean, we give the tape review breakdown from our sources on what went right and what went wrong, Adam. And obviously when you lose, was it 37-16? A lot went wrong, and so we'll get into a lot of that. I just want to get you a quick, now 48 hours removed, based on what you heard, take on what's going on with this team.
Look, the in terms of the tape, and we'll get into that in a minute, but just as from a macro view, look, the Wentz certainly is a big issue that nothing has changed. Like our early feeling on Carson Wentz Sunday night or Monday morning was 100% spot on. We as tough it is to grade quarterbacks off TV tape, which you shouldn't do. You certainly could see certain things. Watching it live, then watching it Sunday night, and then Monday morning, just from the TV copy, and then talking to people who around the NFL, particularly one person I trust who does advanced work for another team, one of the Eagles or one of his teams. I mean, he was blown away by how Wentz played. I mean, and from a negative standpoint, he's very surprised because this guy knows the quarterback play. This guy played in the league, and this guy played on offense, so he knows kind of what he's looking at. And the guy was kind of surprised. He's like, he didn't criticize the coaching. He goes, something's wrong here, and it goes back to your point that you had a couple weeks ago. Is Wentz listening? Because I do believe that he's freelancing. I believe that he's not doing things like that he's coached. And I'll tell you what, Doug Peterson is kind of giving some hints the first 2 weeks, Jeff. If you listen to him and read his transcripts, he's been critical in his own way, however he is saying it without mentioning Carson's name. And that, to me, is really the story of this football team right now. We can talk all we want about how bad their defense was last week. It was, because they got fooled by McVay. But it starts with the quarterback. When Wentz gets back to where he needs to, which will happen eventually, this is when he looks special. But he has not looked anything but bottom half of the National Football League at the quarterback position. That's where he is right now. Yes,
one thing we discussed on our show last night on 97.5 The Fanatic in our Inside the Birds
Monday night, show, Monday nights. Yeah.
Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. We thank everybody who's been listening, is that Doug Peterson's answer to the question about Carson's regression was a little bit interesting because he actually said, hey, that's a good question. And normally a coach is going to kind of dismiss that narrative right from the start, even if it's true, just to be a coddler. And so what we talked about last week,
that didn't happen.
More so, right? What we talked about last week is, how do you hold Carson accountable when he's that stubborn, but without benching him? Because obviously that's not the answer.
No,
the answer might be is to start calling him out in the media like Doug Peterson did. And that might be the next step in this progression for Doug on how to coach Carson harder. So we got a lot to get into with that. We'll talk a little bit about Carson in the breakdown and get into what our sources saw. So and we cannot dismiss the defensive breakdowns that went on, and we've got to explain what went on there too. Thank everyone, first of all, who tuned in again to watch the Inside the Birds pregame live show on Sunday at Goose Island Brewery. We were there from 10 to noon. We previewed the game. We'll be there again on Sunday at the same time. We'll be there all year. Trey Thomas, Greg Cosell joined us. And Adam, I keep getting the same feedback about the type of analysis you're going to get in our show. No fluff, all football, especially from you and I, people are familiar with. But Trey and Greg Cosell really adding another dimension of the breakdown has been just a great part of our show that I'm really happy to have shared with our listeners.
Two serious football people, Trey Thomas and Greg Cosell. I mean, It doesn't get any better than that. There's no pregame show in the world, any team that could do this, because you got two reporters, two insiders, an ex-player who's so connected to the club, and Trey Thomas. And the great thing I love about Trey is, okay, does he want the Eagles to win? Yeah. But you couldn't tell by his analysis. He's just, this is what I see. This is what needs to be done. And Greg has no allegiance to any team. He's a tape evaluator. Yeah, he didn't play the game, but he's learned from the best of the National Football League. He's kind of like me. We query coaches and executives, particularly coaches. Okay, how do you handle this? How do you coach this? What did you see? That's what you and I do. So this is why we do what we do, because as we learn, our viewers learn, and that is the secret sauce of Inside the Birds when we created this 2 years ago, and we've taken it now to another level, and we appreciate everyone's support. It's been certainly overwhelming.
It has been fantastic. And you can still watch the show if you're just curious. If you haven't seen it yet, go to our YouTube channel, Inside the Birds on YouTube, and go to the live section of videos, and you'll find our last 2 pregame shows. Before we get into the podcast and the Eagles themselves, Adam, there was a transaction today that I want you to kind of weigh in on, because no matter what we say, right, a lot of fans still think the Eagles are going to go out there and spend some money on a running back and make it an RBBC, which – no matter what we say is not true. So Devonta Freeman finally apparently signs with the Giants. That's the report.
Well, he agreed to terms.
There?
Yeah, on Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, but on Tuesday he agreed to terms with the Giants. I don't know what the money is, but I can tell you that the Eagles had a number in mind for any running back they signed. Nothing has changed over 4 months from my first report back in June. Was it? I don't know what the hell it was. Anyway, in the late spring, and that's kind of where they're at. And I know Boston Scott looked really good in this past game. That certainly helped his cause, but it goes back to where we started with this back in the offseason. They need to have an answer if Miles Sanders is out multiple weeks. Could Boston Scott carry some load? Yeah, he did last year. In 2 games, he had double-digit carries. But he's a certain type of running back. The role that he has when Miles Sanders is healthy, like last week, is exactly what they want. He's a change-up. That's all he really is. The part of a player evaluation is this. You have to know what the guy is, and he's not. He's not a starting running back in the National Football League, period, end of story. It's not even debatable. He's not. No one believes that who works in the National Football League. So this is the problem that the Eagles have right now. If they lose Sanders for 3-4 weeks, you could gimmick it up. You could do certain things to get Boston Scott comfortable, because he's got talent. He definitely does. But you're not giving him volume expecting great things. It's just not realistic. It could happen, but you don't want to guess. You want to have an answer. That's the way it was explained to me by someone who would know. You need to have an answer when your starter's not there. Boston Scott's not a long-term answer, period, end of story.
No, he's not. He's perfect for what he is, too. We're not trying to diminish or devalue him.
Right.
Really like what he brought. And what really stood out to me.
He looked good. He really
What stood out to me, only maybe 24, 48 hours later from the game, is that Corey Clement was not a factor.
Yeah.
They didn't give Corey, and I'm not saying they were down on Corey. Miles Sanders had a really good game outside of the putting the ball on the carpet, and we'll get to it. And if you watch Trey Thomas's latest video on In the Trenches with Trey on YouTube, you will notice that if Carson Wentz had given him a little bit more eyesight in the passing game, Miles Sanders could have had a monster receiving game. But obviously we'll get into some of the breakdowns on offense. But it really just goes to show that they are a Miles Sanders running back show. That's their guy. They hit on him. He has explosion, dynamic talent, and that's been a good pick. And I think if he can stay healthy, as we're talking about, and Carson can get a little bit more eyes on him in the short passing game, he could have an amazing year. You know who has an amazing year just doing Manscaped reads, Adam? Is Trey Thomas. Because when he's on our pregame show, there's really nothing better than listening to him to talk about Manscaped. I can only do a little bit of justice for it. Like I just don't have the great stories that.
Well, by the way, watch it, folks. If you've not seen it, watch my face. A couple friends saw it and they texted me. Go, dude, you got to be professional. One guy was busting my chops over it. I couldn't help it. I lost it. Trey was so dynamic the way he read the Manscaped ad. Yeah. Now, wait, did he have a script? Well, I mean, he had some sort of a script, right?
I think he's memorized it. I think that's really impressive that he's also freelances, and it's unbelievable.
It's incredible the way he does it. Like when I was on the show The League on FX for Fox back in 2010, it is like Curb Your Enthusiasm. You don't work with a script. It's all storyboard, improvisation. Right. And I was playing myself, so it wasn't that difficult. But even then, they would tell you what to say. And if you didn't say it the right way, they would stop. So the Manscaped, the job that Trey did, I was blown away. I was like, I don't know how anyone could, like, if you gave a script to read, right? Because I remember in shows over the summer, you would have to read the script. We'd laugh. It was awesome.
Right.
But you were reading it, and you did a great job. But Trey was freelancing, as you said. And he was so creative with his words. I was like, this is unbelievable how he's doing this.
Well, when you truly believe in the product, it's easy to be a pitch man for it. And, you know, Trey believes in it. You believe in it. Yeah. I believe in it. It's football season. You know, we don't fumble when we're doing our grooming below the waist. So our partners at Manscaped, they help us avoid a sack on our sack, if you know what I mean. So you got to stay clean. You got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure you're pampered. And that's why Manscaped really comes in with their Surefire Touchdown. We call it the best tools for your family jewels, right? So you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code ITB at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code ITB. This football season, you got to go audibling from your ordinary and really go with the number one product for male grooming, and that is Manscaped. So go to manscaped.com, get 20% off your grooming tools. All right, let us move on to a transaction that the Eagles did make. Not a great one because, it's the Eagles. That somebody has to get injured. Isaac Seumalo goes on IR with the knee injury. So I believe it's the 3-game IR, Adam.
Well, no, it's a minimum. Oh, no? All you need to do on IR, there's only one
there's
IR.
No designation. That's
right.
Correct.
You don't need to use it. It's just 3 games, not weeks. It's 3 games.
Right.
You could bring them back after that, in a week after that, the 4th week, or 10, whatever you want to do.
Right.
That's what it is.
The bottom line is he's out for the Bengals, he's out for the 49ers, and he's out for the Steelers.
When is their bye?
Probably not soon enough if you ask them, but it's not anytime I think in the next 3 weeks. I'll look it up real quick.
Right. So, look, they're down to Nate Herbig, and we'll get to it. Their bye week is in week 9. So
there you go.
They're down to Nate Herbig. They are paper thin. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate it. This thin, folks. This thin. They cannot afford another injury at guard. We'll get to Matt Pryor in a second. They just. It is what it is. Seumalo's got a sprained knee. I don't know what ligament's been impacted, but they felt it's got to be decent enough sprain that they think he's had to go on this short, at least 3 weeks that he's going to be out. So this is going to be a problem. You have what you have. The
question is who plays left guard.
Right.
I'm going to assume that Jamon Brown is going to take his spot at right guard this week against the Bengals.
You know what? Okay, I know it. Offensive line was not what we're going to do first. We'll get to Wentz very shortly. But I spoke to 2 people who saw Herbig differently. They both acknowledge Herbig will never be an athlete. I mean, he's a big guy. As I understand it, he took very few snaps at guard in training camp, almost exclusively. I said almost, not all. Almost all snaps at center. So, look, he does some things you really like because he is powerful and he's huge. He's a big guy who's got really natural power. You like that. There's not a lot of athleticism. That's why he was not drafted. He holds his own. Here's a good thing about him. He knows how to hold his own. There's some things he's not going to be able to do because he's not an athlete. Right. So he's best in this role right here. If you need him for a couple games, he's probably going to help you. He probably won't hurt you, but I don't know how much he's going to help you. But you know what? He's been a little bit better than they expected, considering, again, he didn't have a lot of snaps in guard and training camp, and he's really been a center for them since he was brought in as an undrafted free agent. So that's kind of where he's at. Jamon Brown is a better football player. I do agree with you. He's eventually going to have to take over. If the Seumalo injury is 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, if it's again, I don't know the ligament, but if it's a grade 2 MCL sprain, which is probably 4 weeks, if it's a grade 3, that's what Evan Mathis told me he had years ago. Evan, when he came back, said he was in a lot of pain. He just toughed it out for the club. But whatever it is, Isaac's out 3 games minimum. They have a choice. They do have 3 days of practice this week. Today, the first day of practice is Wednesday. They have Thursday. They should know after Thursday's practice because Friday, Jeff, as you know, is just about an hour and it's real late. So they need to know through Thursday who's starting against the Bengals on Sunday. I do believe, and I'm in total agreement with you, that Brown will eventually take over. But it just depends. It's Stoutland's call. If he thinks the young kid is ready to go, then that's what or deserves one more start, then that's what they'll do. And if Jamon Brown shows that, you know what, they're ready to move on from Herbig and make him the first guard off the bench, then that's what they'll do.
Well, I guess the thing I wonder then, Adam, is about scheme because at his best, as you mentioned, Nate Herbig, he's kind of a big guy. He's not a great athlete. He doesn't really generate a lot of push. At his best, I don't think you can really do some of the things that they wanted to do allegedly by bringing in Rich Scangarello. I can't imagine Herbig being like the lead puller on a sweep right. I can't imagine him being out kicking out on the screen and really getting out there. The one thing about Jamon Brown is not only has he been a starter for a little bit in this league, even though he was a backup or benched last year, he is a good athlete. In fact, more probably of a better athlete than he is a technician. And I just feel like if you want to start incorporating some of those concepts, misdirection, movement, that it's better to have the more experienced player and B, the better athlete at that position. So I would think that they'd want to get him on the field for that alone and as soon as possible. But you're right. Herbig held his own. I wonder if the difference of opinion that you got on Herbig is because one person took the opponent into consideration a little more and said, you know what, for going up against Aaron Donald, he held his own. And the other person might have just said,
but honestly,
in general,
I don't even know how much Donald played in. They moved Donald. It's hard to – I'd have to get a snap count how many he was on him. I get your point, though. Look, the Eagles' offensive line – we might as well just hit the offensive line first.
Yeah.
The Eagles' offensive line improved greatly. Let's start left to right. Peters, I'm told by the two people I spoke to, they both agreed. They both agree that Peters improved greatly from week one. One of the advanced guys I spoke to said that he went back and looked at Eagles tape last year because they did not have preseason. He was going to look at it anyway, but he went through every snap that Peters took last season. Look, he's a shell of what he once was. He's got enough left in the tank. Week one was not good. Certainly not. We don't need to belabor that. we outlined it last week. He was much better with his hand usage and his steps were better. He didn't overstep. He had one real bad snap against Washington. He decided. Someone told me that he decided that it might have been against Chase Young. I don't remember. I guess he just made a choice that, you know what, I better get this guy before he gets me, and he missed.
Right.
And he whiffed, which you don't see Jason whiff very much. But anyway, so he was better. Isaac, before he got hurt, I got to be honest with you, he wasn't quite. Week one, obviously, they all didn't play well. In this game, before he got hurt, he didn't play at that usual high level. So that was a little bit disappointing, but he's still a very good football player. It's been a great story for them. And then Kelsey bounced back in a big way. He was really good. Herbig, we just talked about. Lane was terrific. I give this guy credit. I don't know how he's doing it. This surgery that was explained to me when I found out 3 weeks ago, whatever the hell it was. You really want to wait 4 weeks. He's come back a week and a half, about a week before it.
Right.
That he really should have. And he's doing it, because I know how much he loves his teammates and being there and all that. And he did a great job, man. Guy's an incredible football player. So again, you feel good about that. They did a good job. So that's kind of what, I don't know about you, Geoff, but that's all I have on the offensive line. We don't need to belabor it.
I thought like Carson was barely hit. I don't think he was sacked. So, right. I mean, it's pretty clear that the offensive line held its own better. And we said this, look, Washington, all right, the Rams may have the better player in Aaron Donald, but Washington went 6 or 7 deep on the D-line. I think they have the better pass rushing and defensive front seven overall. And so the Eagles did what they had to do. They had a lot of their game plan was get the ball out quickly. It was shorter. They ran the ball a little bit more. And so that helps the offensive line. But I do think in general the line looked better, communicated better. They did not look confused. And we saved the confusion for the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I want to
Oh boy.
I just want to go through the protected players really quick from the practice.
Yeah. So the transactions, sure.
Braylon Arnold, Deontay Burnett, Luke Juriga, and T.Y. McGill. Now, Williams goes back to the practice squad, but he wasn't protected, which is somewhat interesting. But, we'll see what happens. That doesn't mean they can't call him up. It just means nobody else can.
Right. And look, as we said in the offseason, nobody wanted him. So he's back, and that's that. Yeah, they haven't – it's kind of like they're going with the players that they have. Again, they do have Jamon Brown. So there's your. You don't need to sign a guard right now. They have enough offensive linemen, but if they suffer another injury at guard, I don't know what they'd have to make a trade or something. There's just It's just the worst luck that they've had with these injuries. I just want to address the medical stuff, a little bit. So I've asked a couple personnel directors I know from other teams. I said, hey, what is your opinion on this stuff? Because everybody's speculating it's because there's no offseason.
Right.
Both guys I spoke to agreed that not having these players in your building in March, April, May, June, before they go on the vacation in third week of June and until late July, they all agree. The two guys agree that there's certainly something to that. There's no doubt, but it's very hard to quantify. They wonder about the flexibility. You saw the 6 or 7 ACL injuries which we had, which is crazy on one day around the league. They just believe that there's something to it, but it's just hard to quantify. And I get these guys are experts. They're talking to their team doctors and their trainers all the time, so they would understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the prevailing thought around the league. Like clearly, there's something to the rash of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the other one is this happened coming out of the lockout in 11, where the NFLPA said 25% increase in soft tissue injuries.
Right.
There are a lot of hamstring injuries, not groin. I'm told a lot of hamstring injuries. One of the guys I spoke to told me. So just a little bit of word out there on the injury stuff.
All right. We will talk more about the rest of the offense in our review. Remember, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code ITB for a special offer when you sign up. That's code ITB for a special offer when you sign up only at DraftKings Sportsbook. We should obviously go with Wentz.
Sure.
I'll just tell you from my, we give what our sources tell us, but also some things are very clear to the naked eye on the All-22. I can think of 3 passes specifically, 2 to Reagor, one of which got Reagor almost killed, right?
Hospital
and then
ball, yeah.
Yeah, and then the one he threw to Goddard very early between 3 people that was high that could have got Goddard hit in the ribs. On all 3 of those passes, there were shorter or intermediate routes that had players open that, we talk about the hero ball thing. Even if Carson hits these guys, there's space. Like, you can still get a big gain from those plays. It's not like you're checking it down and only taking what the defense gives. The defense was giving space in that areas because they were concerned about some of that vertical threat, and those were just missed opportunities.
Yeah, his the way it's explained to me this year with Wentz, it was the regression with the pass placement started last season. 18, he set a career high he gained about 9% in accuracy, though he wasn't really throwing it downfield a lot. But his mechanics were way better in 18, and the regression started last year. The thing that he's really struggling with, this is troubling, is he's not getting on the right shoulder. There was one to Goddard like he completed, like it was not quite where it should have been.
Yep.
A lot of his passes, I don't have the chart of how many.
Deshaun on the screen. Sorry, I have to interrupt you. The Deshaun screen. Remember when he threw it behind Deshaun? Yeah. That screen was well set up for a big gain, and that was an easy throw.
On what you just said, this is the way it was explained to me. You want your pass target to be going forward so you can get extra yardage, yak yards.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't throw it to the right shoulder, the guy's got to reach back. That's bad quarterbacking. It just is what it is. I mean, we call it straight here, folks. The people said I was like not critical enough on Carson Wentz on our Monday show. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Did I say anything? I just said he was a little better than last week when he was bad for 2.5 quarters. I don't know what the hell.
Oh, yeah. When you said that, I don't think people understood what you meant because we were specifically talking about getting rid of the ball and not taking hits at that time. And he was clearly better at that against LA. He was sharper.
Yes.
Yeah. But we weren't talking about his accuracy. That was as bad as it was.
Off. Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. Thanks. Because I don't respond on message boards anymore to stuff. I just don't have time. With particularly the YouTube stuff. With all there's some. I mean, I appreciate some of the comments, but some of them are so not only off base. I don't know who they're referring to.
I know there's some,
and then there's the porn spam. I was like, I try to remove it. We have there's a way we can do it. It's hard,
but it's hard to keep up with every single one.
Yeah, I only look at it once a week, but I appreciate people are interested in giving us feedback. We definitely look at it, but when we can. But right. Jeff and I are trying to manage about 100 things here. But let's get back to Carson. Look, it's kind of like a pitcher who is not quite like, okay, it's not Vince Velasquez inaccurate. Vince, if you follow the Phillies at all, Velasquez has got great stuff in terms of power, but he just has bad control. Carson's control right now in terms of pass placement, if it's supposed to be here, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's here. That's not acceptable. It's like, it's just his accuracy. And here's the way it's explained to me. Cosell talked about this on our pregame show, but I could take it next level now because I ran it by someone I really respect from another team who doesn't know Wentz very well. I think this guy might have interviewed him in 16 with the team that he was with. 16, but I just asked this guy on Tuesday, said, hey, what can you tell me about overstriders? And he goes, well, it starts with the feet and the balance. And he goes, and it's the hip turn. He goes, I haven't seen Wentz, but he goes, I know that typically when overstriders happen, everything is out of whack. And it's a balance issue with Carson. Wentz is also falling away from his throws. We talked about this also on our pregame show.
Right.
Everything Cosell, you and I, and Trey Thomas talked about, he did this in this game. It's like I'm like scared. I think it was almost like we were in his head. Everything we projected, he did wrong. All of it. Like I do believe, and I'll answer because people, Press Taylor's getting butchered out there in social media, and I don't know this guy. I've never talked to the guy in my life. I'm not trying to protect him. I've had my own criticisms with this guy for 2 years, so I'm certainly not trying to protect him. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you as a fact, Carson is being taught the right way. He's trying to do everything on his own with the mechanic. He's just too loose. The guy that gave me the thing last week, I loved it. When he said he's trying to be a hero, he's trying to do everything on his own because he thinks he can do it. And type A's are like that, but you needed to accept coaching. He's clearly not accepting coaching.
Yeah,
in his own way. Now he's listening, Jeff. He's listening, but he's doing what he wants with his feet, and you can't do that. It starts with the feet.
Right. And I think Carson's smart, and he's been through some slumps before. I wrote about this on InsideTheBirds.com. His numbers right now, his completion percentage, which is like 59 or 58, and his passer rating, which is, I think, was it 84? Or no, lower than that. Maybe 74, something like that.
56.5 in this past game, but, man.
That was his completion. Oh, yeah. It's so low compared to what he is on average that if you're realistic and you have some perspective about this, you have to think that he will progress back to the mean, meaning he's not going to get rid of all these issues that we're talking about overnight, and he may always have some, but he's been able to be a way better quarterback even with some of those issues. So he's got to work on them. I'm not absolving him, but I don't expect, disaster upon disaster. I think he's got to get some.
I'm going to say this, Jeff, in response to that. It's the first time that I've analyzed Wentz through my own eyes and through some coaching tape that everyone else that I speak to I trust with the quarterback position, which is I got a lot of people who I trust.
Right.
And Wentz clearly is doing this he is doing this is his fault with the mechanics.
No doubt.
And now that you had brought up 2 weeks ago, and I think it's the most brilliant point of all, is he listening? Is he taking I can't answer that. We can only go by what the results are. No one told him to lock his left foot, his front foot, because he's a right-handed thrower. Right. No one told him to fall off throws. No one told him to get out of balance. Like he cannot get away with Mahomes and the like Brett Favre type throws and Mahomes. He can't do it. He's not good enough. He can't do it.
Yeah,
he stop doing it.
Especially when you're putting the ball in the other team's hands.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the interceptions. I'm talking about the lack of proper mechanics.
Mm-hmm. But that can lead to sailed throws, which lead to interceptions.
Sure. And also it plays into what you just said. When you throw out of balance and you're not throwing with proper, what's called throwing arm plane. There's a term that a quarterback coach gave me years ago. It's even if you're an off balance thrower, it has to be rhythmic. Mm-hmm. Carson's not rhythmic. He's not throwing with it's all in sync. Feet first, toe pointing the correct way, hips turning the right way, torque, and arm slot. It's all off. And even on the thing that bothered me, you brought up earlier, and you're so right about it. The easy throws, Jeff. Mm-hmm. Easy throws. He's missing. And now I know you think he's going to get. History shows with this kid when he struggles, he gets it right.
Right.
But
I know I'm only going by history here. I really am. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on that.
I respect it, and I actually agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that bothers me about him, he's talking about we're so close. We could do this or that. Why did you say? And I appreciate how he admitted that he didn't play well, and I do appreciate that. And we'll get to Jim Schwartz when we talk about the defense. And Schwartz admitted that he didn't do a very good job. But you know what, Carson, it's on you, man. If you just follow the game plan, you're going to be back in the top 10 as quarterbacks. And you know what? This team will be in the playoffs. I don't care how hard their schedule is. With this speed that they have, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, just to move on to the pass catchers, if there was anything from what you heard that tight ends, receivers, anything that really
Well, just to finish off with Wentz here, if Carson just does what he's supposed to, at least okay, so this ties into the receivers. And I was talking about lead the receivers, throw with anticipation accurately.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that at wide receiver and Dallas Goedert, because he's terrific at running after the catch, the back shoulder, the fade, the one that he should have thrown a fade, he made a decision to throw it back shoulder. I don't know why he did that. That was the one that was so clear.
Yeah.
Was Ramsey on him? I can't remember.
Yes, it was Ramsey. Yeah,
I thought
some people think Ramsey was
him.
Baiting him, but either way,
he had him. Goddard's 6 foot. Clearly, Goddard's got 3.5 inches to 3 inches on Ramsey. He had him.
Mm-hmm.
Carson throws it the right way. It's just you give your guys a chance. Now, getting to the receivers, Carson missed. I don't have the number of throws downfield because Carson's was the throws downfield against Washington where they threw a ton of them downfield. They only completed the Reagor one, the 55-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
But they threw a lot of them downfield. They just didn't hit them. In this game, Carson missed a couple that could have been for 30 yards or more, but he didn't throw it.
Right.
And he missed a Sean on one in the first half. I don't know the route. Yeah. The guy told me he didn't give me the route, but this is what happens when your quarterback is not you and I both said seeing the field clearly.
Right.
In our Monday show, he's just not. We knew that from watching the TV copy. He's just not. And you saw the play. You saw the play to Goddard when he missed him. When he missed Goddard.
So many missed opportunities, Adam.
Yeah,
it's really it's sickening. I mean, they could have scored a lot of points if he was 50% more accurate, which still wouldn't have been great, but
Jeff,
it would have been enough.
Right. Remember when I say I hate bad football? What you just said, I can hear it in your voice. It bothers you because you're not an Eagles fan, but it bothers you that a team that could be doing so much better is not taking advantage because the quarterback is so out of whack. It's frustrating. I just want to see. I don't care if the Eagles or Rams won that game. I just wanted to see two players who are taken back-to-back in the 16 draft.
Right.
I wanted to see a great battle. Like when I went to the game in 17 in LA, when unfortunately Carson got hurt, but it was Wentz versus Goff. It was an unbelievable game. It was one of the best quarterback games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping to see.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Let's get into the defense because when you talk about bad mistakes and things that went wrong.
Oh, wait, back off. Hang on. I want to talk about Miles Sanders.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I forgot because we had talked about him a little bit
Sanders was awesome after, I'm told it was four or five carries.
Yeah, the first few, right? He looked like a little jittery on them. And then
he didn't hit it. What happened is he made the wrong cut a couple times.
Yeah.
And he just didn't see the field clearly. Like because he just – and that's what happened. So he clearly – after that, man – oh, by the way, just on transactions, Marcus Green, who they've had before, he visited on Tuesday. So I'm guessing he's probably going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the kid who was with them they got from the Redskins, Washington team?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at the transaction. So,
okay.
Look, Miles is great. He's going to be special. I'm positive of it. I mean, he's so competitive. I'm talking to the Eagles about him. The game really means something to him. And that benching that they gave him last year in week 2 at Atlanta is probably the best thing that happened to him.
Mm.
It just not that kid works hard. It meant a lot to him. He started freelancing and not hitting the right holes, and he's a good pass protector, by the way. He's really improved greatly in that area from when they got him.
Yeah.
He was great.
The term follow the blocks, that's big. And that's what I noticed when I was watching the first carries. It looked like he was, again, a little too excited and wasn't patient. But then in the second half, I thought there were some times where he was really looking he was setting up the blocks, after he's getting the ball in his hand. And that's always good.
Good in space, and he caught the ball too, which I liked. So Carson missed him. Carson missed through a couple that he should have gotten through it in front of him, like lead him.
Right.
Carson used to be great at that. I can't figure out for the life of me what's going on here because they left points on the field. By the way, I know people find it hard to believe because they thought Wentz didn't play well, but he left points on the field. They definitely missed out on some plays. I know it didn't look like that, but what I was told was Carson just, as we've said, he just didn't see the field clearly, and they missed some plays with Reagor The Reagor is 4 for 4 on pass target to conversion on those catches. They miss some plays. This is the part about football where you scratch your head and I know it's only week 2, and I know Cincinnati's coming up here, but man, you hate that. That's what drives coaches crazy.
Yeah, and I was told, by the way, on Reagor that he did a much better job this game of running his routes more professionally, explosive from start to finish, and that it was an improvement over week 1 where we detailed a couple of times that he just didn't do what he was supposed to do. All right, let's go switch sides to the defense a little bit. First, make sure you're checking out phlsportsnation.com. Go to their website or check them out on Twitter at phlsportsnation. They're enhancing the fan experience with their unbelievable coverage of all 4 Philly teams like nobody else. For the fan, by the fan, that is their motto. And they just produce a lot of great content and do some good podcasts as well. So make sure you're checking out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. We'll pause real quick for another word from another great sponsor. All right, Adam, the defense. I know everybody wants to hear about all the great things that happened on Jim Schwartz's side of the ball. I think a big word, and I'm curious to hear how it got back to you, but in watching it, the term break contain came into my head a few times because obviously when you're playing a team that so heavily focuses on misdirection and play action, it's so important to have your lane discipline and your gap discipline, and I feel like that was a big, big breakdown for the D-line in this game from a run standpoint.
Yes, the D-line's interesting. They actually got a lot of pressure on Goff. It's kind of like, I had heard Sunday night or Monday morning, whatever the heck it was, that just the early dig-in on the coaching tape was that the D-line actually got pressure when Goff was not rolled out. They got to him. But the problem is, and I didn't chart it. Goff rolled out so much, he was moved so much because they have to do that. He's just not a great pocket passer. He threw some from the pocket in this game, but to negate the Eagles' rush, it was smart. Like their advanced work that the Rams got on the Eagles was about as good as I've ever heard from a team. Like they had the Eagles figured out. So it was like they were in the Eagles' defensive meetings. They knew exactly what they were going to get. The Eagles, for the first time since Jim Schwartz has been here, they're playing super heavy man coverage. Like last year they did some. Now they're playing super heavy. And they knew what they were going to get. And they got it, and they embarrassed them. The mental errors, and Jim Schwartz, to his credit, and I really respect him for doing this. In his press conference on Tuesday, he said, "Look, he could have done a better job putting them in a better position to execute, because they had so many mental errors. You couldn't even count that high. They probably had 50 of them. It's just if you add them up, if you add up every position at linebacker and the secondary." Guys who normally wouldn't make mistakes, as Jim said, made mistakes because the problem is they didn't follow the rules as it was explained to me. Their rules at linebacker. And when you play all man, the only person who did not play man was the single high safety because they play cover 1.
Right.
That guy's playing zone. So when you're given rules and there's so much conflict because McVay knew what he was going to get, he caused them so much confusion. It's like they had no. Poor Nate Gary had. He had a bad game, because they made him have a bad game. Not like they confused the hell out of these guys. That's what I think Schwartz was trying to cover for them because he knows that. Obviously it's Jim's fault in a way because he's the D coordinator.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, so we can move on here. I've never seen so much confusion. That's what I was told, and I took a peek at it on Tuesday. They don't they just there's nothing they can do about it. I had someone send me some defensive coaching tape stuff on Tuesday from another team just to give me an idea. It was in my phone. I was laughing. I was like, "Wow, man, this doesn't look good." He goes, "Yeah, I'll call you later and explain it to you." We don't need to make this super high level. Just say that I believe will happen going forward. It's one thing to say the Eagles linebackers aren't great. Now teams have a blueprint.
Yeah.
You confuse the hell out of these guys who probably shouldn't be playing very much, or certainly should be rotating. They don't have anyone to rotate with. The Eagles have what they have at linebacker. You're now going to see if I'm assuming they're going to continue to play man. The Eagles don't play zone very well. That's why they probably went to man, in addition to getting Slay. So you're going to see teams take advantage of this. I would expect going forward, starting with Cincinnati.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because who is the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals?
Zach Taylor.
And what coaching tree does he come from?
Shanahan.
Well, Sean McVay, really,
McVay
right?
and Shanahan, yeah.
McVay is from the Shanahan tree,
Yep.
but Taylor is a direct branch. So he was in Washington with McVay, right, when they were both underneath.
And Kyle.
Gruden. What's that?
No, and Kyle. No, they would have been there.
I'm sorry, Kyle. Yeah. He was with, and then where did Zach Taylor go before he was at Green? He was in Tennessee, was he not, for 1 year?
Zach Taylor, actually, I talked to him at the owners' meetings 2 years ago, his first year, and he called plays at University of Cincinnati, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm sure someone on Google, someone will Google and then say I'm wrong, but hey, that's what he told me, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, look, he's
also Press Taylor's brother, right?
Yeah, I understand. Look, it's a copycat. Jeff, it's a copycat league. We know what's coming here.
Exactly.
It's not the Eagles linebackers this group has ever played particularly well, but some games where they've held their own. But now we have a blueprint. You're going to get them out of position. You're going to make sure coaches know what the rules are in man, and they confuse the hell out of them. They didn't know, like Nate Gary obviously was a big one. The safeties are pretty sharp kids. They made Avonte Maddox not look good, and Avonte's a pretty sharp guy. They all had a hand in it. Like where we said the offensive line was bad week 1 because they all had a hand in it. All of them did. Same here, Jeff. They all got scouted well in advance work, and McVay called the game of his life. Like whereas I thought in 17 and 18, particularly 18, the Eagles had McVay badly. They destroyed their line. They had him figured out. Well, he had them figured out this time, and I'm sure the Eagles don't want to play them again because now the secret's out. You're going to attack man like this. You're going to make them think out there. You're going to go right at them. You're going to pre-stop motion like crazy. Oh my God, the motions and the shifts and all the stuff, the stuff that they did, the linebackers had no idea. They had no idea.
That's true. One last point on the defensive breakdowns up front. Discipline was a big problem, as we mentioned, and trusting your eyes and not getting fooled by the eye candy. Who is the Eagles' best run down lineman? Who do they play specifically on run downs and then take off the field a lot of times on passing downs when they're fully healthy?
I mean, are you talking about D tackle or D end?
No, defensive lineman, defensive end. I'll give you a hint. He didn't play on Sunday because he's hurt.
What am I? I'm drawing a blank here. I'm drawing a blank.
Vinny Curry, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
One of their most disciplined, one of their best run-down defensive ends that they have.
That's why, because he's on IR. I forgot, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I think he was missed in that regard. He's usually one of their most disciplined run defenders, and obviously not having him out there and having to play Sweat and then rotate some guys, Barnett, who just was not ready and physically, and then some other guys that they're rotating there. I think it hurt them not to have Vinny Curry.
Yeah, I am told that Barnett clearly was not ready. They from a health standpoint, yes, but from a conditioning standpoint, he just wasn't there yet. Same with, though he didn't do a bad job. Hargrave was okay. Right. He'll get better. He'll get better. Once Barnett and Hargrave, you got to give them 2 or 3 weeks. Once they get where they need to be, this line is going to be what they thought it would be, but they can't have any more injuries. These guys have to get back. They got to get their conditioning back. Their cardio it's hard to get that back, man. You can't simulate this in practice. So that's what I know. What do you know about the front seven, the D tackles? I don't have a lot on it. I know Cox made some really good plays.
No, the feedback I got was this was more about the D ends and the linebackers, the defensive ends, and Brand. We talked about Graham. He broke contain a little bit more than you would expect for a veteran defensive end who's been playing a long time.
But he also had some good plays, I'm told. He actually, you're right on your contain thing, no doubt. But yeah, he had a lot of very good plays where he got pressure. The problem is, and this is kind of back to McVay, because he knew exactly, because because the Eagles they play the wide 9, they don't change it. They don't play what's called a bear front when you they don't add in someone. They don't play 5 linemen. They won't do it. They just play 4 upfield, wide 9, playing man behind it now. And this is what you're getting every week. And Jim Schwartz is saying, come beat us, because if we get our pressure on your quarterback, unless you move him like McVay did, we're going to go get you. He's probably right. I know he's not saying this, but when you play it like, what I mean is when you play it like this, when the tape shows us, he's telling you what they're doing. And I'm going to be fascinated. I know the Bengals, they have a lot of talent on offense, but their offensive line is dreadful.
Right.
And we'll see what Kyle Shanahan does in 2 weeks. I'm going to be interested to see, before we move on here, once this line gets healthy, how dominant they could be. Because, you and I have been excited. I know our viewers are excited to see what this line can be, because they spent a ton of money on it. Cox and Hargrave, my goodness gracious. They're the most expensive D-tackle tandem in the National Football League on average per year basis is this Eagles defensive tackle threesome.
Right.
So I cannot wait to see what these guys do. I'm sure the coaches in front office can't wait either, because they're going to have some games, folks. Once they get ready, once they're physically ready, they absolutely destroy the opponent's defense, the offensive line. And guess what? They're playing the NFL's worst offensive line this week.
Yes. Well, the Eagles are the favorite in the game. I'm going to get into that in 1 second.
How can they not? Wait a minute.
Well, like 2-0-2 teams.
What's the line? I don't get into gambling, but I'm very curious. What's the line?
The Eagles are favored. Last I saw by 6,
Okay.
Which is actually probably low for what you might have thought.
Yes, exactly.
That the game would be.
You and I have been wrong so far, but one of these days we're going to get it right on the game.
Law of averages.
Yes.
Speaking of the law of averages, I think people should be really excited about BetQL, one of our new partners, because what they do, as I talk about law of averages, is provide really cutting edge, like top of the line analytics and sports betting data that really helps people, kind of make a better and more educated decision. Sometimes people just wager on what they're feeling, but when you have all the information in front of you, and that gives you an advantage over the sports books, I think. So if people should download BetQL, get the app. It's the only app you're going to need to make smart bets and really take advantage of all their algorithms. They scan over 350,000 bets per year to give you kind of a best bet recommendation for every game. And it gives you the reason why you should, but it just doesn't say, hey, put your money on this team. It tells you why you should be betting on one team or another. And they've got really good tools like sharp data, so you can see who the pros are backing and the line, the way it moves and what that determines. And it just helps you jump on really good betting opportunities in real time. And plus it allows you to save all your picks in one place. Everybody likes to store that so they can go back to it and look at it. So make sure you go to the App Store or Google Play Store to download BetQL. Head to betql.com, get the promo code BIRDS20, and you'll get 20% off your first payment. So I think people should take a real advantage of that with BetQL. So like I said, the Eagles are favored by 6. I do think the law of averages kicks in here. We'll get into it more when we break down the game on our Friday morning podcast, Adam. But, I mean, I think you tweeted this or you said it. You win this game and you start to feel a little bit of stability. You lose this game and the roof has caved in if you go to 0-3 with a loss against the –
I put on Twitter because what happened is I do some work for a company called Sports Grid. Mm-hmm. Scott Farrell, I'm sure you remember Scott Farrell from radio.
Is that the guy who talks like this?
Got it. Yeah, Scotty's great. So Scott, he said, listen, what is going on with the Eagles here? And I said, look, it's real. I had to boil it down in 30 seconds.
Right.
I said, let me tell you something, because I do that hit on Monday from the Fanatic. And I said, Scott, if they lose to the Bengals, it's going to be Armageddon. And I've covered this business for 20 years, and this team specifically for that amount of time. They've had some bad losses. Miami last year in the Andy Reid and Chip Kelly era. The problem is everyone wanted Chip out, so 15 was like just the beginning of the end. Right. But when expectations are not met, people are so angry, and I get it. I get it. I totally get it. My friends who have season tickets are up in arms. It's funny. They really like Doug. They actually feel sorry for him, because Wentz is just not playing well, and they clearly cannot get him to get what he needs to do yet. They haven't reached him yet for whatever reason. He's not doing what he's taught. But, people are frustrated, and listen to 97.5 The Fanatic this week and on our show on Monday. People are almost at wit's end. I know it's only 2 games, but the third game, if they lose to Cincinnati, I don't know. It's like I would want to show my face if I worked for the Eagles. If they it's so
you know,
bad.
Adam, I think it's people are tired of seeing the Eagles have to constantly dig out of holes. So
Yeah,
even if they've shown that they're capable of doing it and having that great December that they had last year, and then the one 2 years ago when Nick had to come back in, people just want a team that's supposed to be good on paper to look good and not give them all the agita and the heartache that goes along with it. Even when you're winning,
I'm joking about like. The part if the Eagles lose, people, something might happen. No, but they're going to be super pissed off. They're pissed off now. The anger that people had on social media Sunday, the Washington game was bad. We know that. They took it to another level on Sunday where it really went over the top. And I understand people's anger because they love this team. I get it. 32 teams, 32 fandoms. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed about this particular, Jeff, before we move on here, mm-hmm. is that when expectations are not met, and not only not met, they're so far off from what you were expecting, you feel like you're cheated and you're angry. Like that's my summation of where the fans are right now.
I think you're right about where the fans are at, and it's up to the Eagles to turn this thing around and get them on the other side of the spectrum. We'll get into all that on Friday too when we break down this game against the Bengals on Sunday, which I think you can call a must-win game for at least for a lot of fan morale. That's going to do it for Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube, Sports Talk with Broads, and make sure you're checking him out on Twitter, @Broads81. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds.